What it do? What it do? So I'm gonna go over this portrait. I'm gonna kind of talk about how I simplified it so that it was easier for me to tattoo. I first ran the portrait through Remini. It's an app that you can find on the App Store, I guess. And what it does, it cleans up the photo, but it flattens it as well. So there's not a lot of contrast to the portrait itself. So when I'm tattooing it, I try to exaggerate some of the features so that I could get a more dynamic tattoo out of it. So right here, what I'm doing, just going over the eyes, that little circle thing, if you've seen that I pulled it up, it was just kind of swatching the colors or picking the color that I wanted in that little area. And I'm just kind of going through it, kind of darkening down these tones, such as like where the underneath the eyelid there, and also like here on the side of the cheek where the cheekbone meets the eye socket. I kind of went around that. Also right here on the mouth, it seemed a little flat, so what I'm doing is I'm adding a darker tone here to it, and I'm just kind of brushing it in real lightly. And what I'll do is I'll go with the smudge tool and I'll just smudge it, or as you can see right there, I'll just smudge it out. That way it kind of blends it out and doesn't look so scratchy. So that blend tool, I just kind of like blend it out. You can see how it kind of, I'm going back here again with like an airbrush and then that same darker tone, and I'm just kind of going over these darker areas. And right here it kind of looks like a little mustache, but I swear it's gonna look just fine when I tattoo it. So, but what I'm doing is I want stuff to be more dynamic and to pull back and to jump forward. And when you have these darker tones next to each other, such as the cheek there and that darker tone that I'm placing, it'll bring stuff back and forward. And when you bring them close together like that, it makes it for a more dynamic tattoo. And I always try to exaggerate my tones a little bit just so that everything's not looking so muddy. And then right here is I'm using like that blending tool, or it's the kind of basic concept as what a blending stump would do. Once you use charcoal, you draw on there and then you just blend with it. Now you could see like how the photos slowly taking its shape. And then also, if you've seen, I'm going to zoom back in on it, like right there. You see how the quality of the photo is not really great? That's the original photo. And then the one that I'm working over it went through Remini. And then also when I'm doing like blending these tones over the new photo, I'm trying to go like in a direction of the shape. So as you see how I'm going like over the cheek, and I'm trying to get that contour line feeling, so it kind of makes it look more rounded compared to if I was just to do like cross hatching right there. So here I'm just taking a look at the eyes now, and the eyes, chico, is a window to the soul, you know what I mean? But yeah, you just want to make sure that bottom eyelid, exaggerate it a little bit. And what I'm doing here is I make it almost like a shelf. So like if I'm looking at a shelf, and I could set like a cup on there or something. So that's the idea that I have in my head. It's like a shelf, because it's touching the eyeball, and then you got like the little ledge, and then it comes to the front of the eyelid. So you just I always exaggerate them a little bit. And right here, I'm exaggerating them with a darker tone because of her oh my bad, there's a ice cream man coming up. So but anyways, yeah, now I'm darkening the eyelashes. So what I'm doing here is because I'm gonna print this out. So when I print it, I don't want it to be just like all one tone there. I want to make sure I know where the eyelashes are and I know where the iris is at, so that when I'm mapping this out, when I'm stenciling it by hand, I actually know where everything's gonna end up, and when it prints, it's gonna print down. But back to the bottom eyelid, she has like eyeliner on here, but it's not that dark. But I always try to exaggerate it. A lot of times I'll leave it empty, so like that's like where the lightest part is of the eyelid. But I always try to think of it as a ledge. And then usually with like the eyeballs, you have the darker center where the iris is at, and then you want some type of dark tone at the top of the eyeball, and then coming down, because that the top eyelashes or the eyelids, they're going to create a shadow. So you're going to have a darker shadow on top, and then as the eyelid rounds about, then you'll have like the lighter tone in the eye, like in the center. So now I'm just kind of, playing with it a little bit and pulling it back. And I'm looking at the eyes, and yeah, she looks a little crooked eyed there, man. So no disrespect to the family or anything like that, but I want to make sure that it's right. So what I'm doing here is I'm kind of pulling it back, looking back, pulling my head back a little further, and just making sure that she doesn't look like cross-eyed or anything that throws her appearance off a little. Now I'm getting into the hair, and there's really no information in the photograph. So one thing I do know is she has bangs, and then there's a light source. So what's going on is the light source is hitting the top of the head or the top of the hair, and her bangs are protruding from the skull, rounding about to the eyebrows. So I know that there's a light source on the top there, and also there's a light source on the top of the head. So that's where I want the most shine to be. And I could adjust as I'm tattooing, like with the little strands, but I'm not trying to be perfect. I just want to get the basic shapes out, so that I know the flow of the hair, where direction it's going. And then you could see these little sketch marks there. I don't want too much information there or go too crazy with it. I just want to know that, hey, there's some texture there. There's maybe some curls or some folds in there. And then right here, I'm going to get into the saturation of it. I just play around with the saturation so that it's going to make it a little bit more exaggerated than what I already did. So I'm just bringing the saturation down just a hair, just a little bit, just kind of seeing what I like, what I don't like. And then I'm going to exaggerate the curve of it. So I'll go up, and you can see the curve there. And so I'll go down so that it brings the darkers a little bit more dark. And then it'll bring that little point up so that it brightens up the light, or the light sources or whatever. And then right there, and I think that looks pretty good. I'm satisfied with it, and I can make my adjustments while I'm tattooing. Now here's the stencil. I didn't stencil for you guys, but I did reduce the saturation. I just kept it simple, just like a map, just divide all the lights, darks, and blacks. Just keep it very simple. And now we move on to application of the stencil. Just some advice: you want to make sure that the stencil is on a flat area so that you're getting minimal distortion. Yeah, you don't want someone to come out with a crooked eye or something. But here's my style of blocking in. I'll make another video of this later on. But I usually just block in the tattoo before I start my shading with the mag. And if you made it this far, man, thank you so much for watching the video. But here's the end product of the portrait. It's a little grainy, you could tell, but it's because from the blocking in, that style that I use. But that will eventually subside down and it'll be smooth. But take a look, and this is the end product, man, and thank you for watching.